First of all, I must say this is an occasion that gives me great joy. Perhaps many of you who may have been observant and studied my demeanor whilst I was sitting over there, I was full of smiles. I was a happy man, simply because of the faces that I see gathered here today. Faces I haven't seen in years. Faces that I only see in pictures, those who preceded me in the National Assembly. Faces that even came after I left, but who I have observed over the years. Faces from the east, from the west, from the north, from the south, depicting nothing but unity. It gives me great delight to stand before you. This rainbow coalition that depicts, like I said, nothing but the unity of Nigeria. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let me first of all sound this. This was set up to include all political parties. It's not an APC setup. It's not a PDP setup, not an ADC setup. It's for all former legislators, irrespective of party. But as it is, sometimes you cannot cheat nature in terms of osmosis. Naturally, the natural evolution, it appears that APC has taken over the coalition. Because here in this hall, you will find members of PDP hitherto, of SDP, of Labour, but who have now become a part of one single fabric, APC. But the door still remains open. It is a forum of former legislators. So if you're out there and you're a member of PDP or any other party, you're welcome. Because what we need is a debate of ideas. And I believe there is no one single party that is a fountain of knowledge. It is when we come together in unity that we can come to resolutions that will inure to the benefit of Nigeria as a whole. So distinguished ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I am deeply honored to join you today, and I am particularly heartened by the presence of so many familiar faces. I thank you sincerely for taking the time to be here, particularly those who have traveled long distances to participate in this engagement. We meet at a moment when the world appears unsettled and uncertain of its direction. Long-standing assumptions are being questioned. Familiar certainties are eroding, and the global environment is becoming more volatile. Yet, it is precisely in moments such as this that leadership is most needed. Your willingness to convene, to deliberate, and to contribute once more to national discourse speaks volumes about your enduring commitment to the idea of Nigeria and to the responsibilities that citizenship and leadership impose upon us all. I bring you warm greetings and good wishes from our national grand patron and the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. He actually asked me when I told him about this program, when he was aware of it, he asked me with smiles on his face that, am I to come to this program? I took a look at him and I said to him, no, sir, this is just for your information. You can watch us on TV. He was a little bit disappointed, but really, we felt at the time that no, he should just sit and observe. He has asked me to convey, nonetheless, his profound appreciation to the National Forum of Former Legislators for your sustained dedication to nation building. He has also requested that I assure you that he continues to draw strength, insight, and guidance from the depth of political judgment, legislative experience, and administrative wisdom that this forum embodies as he advances the transformational objectives of the Renewed Hope agenda. At a time when leadership across the world is being tested by unprecedented global shifts, experience matters. Your collective experience is not only relevant, it is indispensable. This gathering is the culmination of months of consultation, dialogue, and engagement across the length and breadth of our country. The National Forum of Former Legislators occupies a unique and vital place in our national life. It brings together individuals who have not merely observed the evaluation of our democracy, but have actively shaped it, often under difficult circumstances and of critical moments in our history. The institutional memory represented in this room is a national asset of immense value. It must not be allowed to fade or be marginalized. Instead, it must be deliberately harnessed to inform present choices and to illuminate future pathways as we continue the long and unfinished journey towards a more perfect union. It is neither accidental nor merely symbolic that this summit is convened under the theme National Unity and Nation Building Beyond 2031. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and talk about unity and what it means and the implications and how to achieve it. But I'm going to weave it and tie it at some point and towards the end to 2027 and how we can achieve unity. The emphasis on beyond 2031 is both deliberate and instructive. It reminds us that nation building is not an event, nor the exclusive responsibility of any single administration. Nation building is a continuum. The Constitution of our Republic begins with a powerful promise. We call it the preamble. A powerful promise spoken in the name of every Nigerian. It says, "We, the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, having firmly and solemnly resolved to live in unity and harmony as one indivisible and indissoluble sovereign nation under God." That's the language of the Constitution. Now, those words are not distant legal phrasing. They are a pledge made by our forebears and renewed by us today. They affirm that Nigeria was never meant to be a collection of rival camps, but one people bound together by a shared hope and a common future. That is why the Constitution provides for the principle of federal character, to ensure that no group is forgotten, no region is ignored, and no citizen feels like a stranger in their own country. In binding us together, the Constitution places a sacred responsibility on every Nigerian to defend our unity and protect our shared destiny. The unity of Nigeria is therefore not a matter of choice or convenience. It is a solemn duty we owe to one another and a sacred trust we hold under God. As veterans of the legislature, we understand perhaps better than most the meaning of unity in practice. Our legislature stands as one of the most enduring and tangible expressions of Nigeria's unity. Each day, within its chambers and committees, Nigerians of diverse ethnicities, religions, regions, ideologies, and social backgrounds come together to debate, to disagree, to negotiate, and ultimately to legislate in the national interest. The legislature demonstrates that unity does not require the erasure of difference. It does not demand that we abandon our identities. renounce our beliefs, or surrender our deeply held values in order to work together to achieve common goals. In the global arena, Nigeria is encountered as a single political and economic entity. Our internal distinctions, meaningful as they are to us, carry little strategic weight in a rapidly changing international system. That system itself is undergoing a profound transformation. The international order that has governed global trade, security arrangements, and diplomatic norms since the end of the Second World War is fracturing before our eyes. Power is being reasserted in increasingly raw and unconstrained forms. Economic competition is intensifying. Strategic alliances are shifting. Long-standing assumptions about multilateralism, restraint, and shared rules are being questioned and in some cases abandoned altogether. For countries such as Nigeria, this moment carries both danger and possibility. The danger lies in fragmentation. In a world that increasingly rewards scale and strategic clarity, internal disunity weakens national capacity. A divided nation struggles to project strength, to negotiate effectively, or to protect its interests. Disunity erodes investor confidence, undermines economic planning, weakens security coordination, and diverts leadership attention away from the long and demanding work of development. At this juncture in global history, prolonged internal division would have extended and devastating consequences for Nigeria's well-being. It impairs our ability to respond to external economic shocks, deepens existing social and security challenges, and leaves us vulnerable in a world where weaker states are often compelled to accept unfavorable terms in trade, finance, and security. Disunity of this moment, or at this moment, does not merely delay progress. It multiplies risk, magnifies vulnerability, and transmits insecurity across generations. We must therefore be clear about the stakes. National unity is not an abstract moral aspiration. It is a strategic necessity. It is the foundation are built. Without unity, development plans falter, reforms lose momentum, and the promise of prosperity recedes further from our reach. A few days ago, the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, declared the permanent rupture of the international rules-based order. He warned of a brutal reality in which geopolitics among the great powers is no longer subject to meaningful constraint, and where the strong do what they can and the weak suffer what they must. For many in Africa and the global south, this reality is not new. We have long lived with an international system in which rules were applied unevenly, in which the powerful exempted themselves when convenient, and in which trade and legal regimes operated with varying degrees of rigor depending on who was involved. Yet this moment of global awakening presents an opportunity. It offers the chance to renegotiate, or rather to negotiate a new global settlement on trade, security, human rights, and the values that will shape the emerging world order. That negotiation is already underway. The nations best positioned to influence the outcome are those that possess strategic clarity about their place in the world, their objectives, and the means by which they intend to achieve them. Such clarity cannot be achieved in disunity. For Nigeria to participate effectively in shaping the new world order, we must first secure unity of purpose at home. We must enter this new epoch as one people and one nation, committed to a shared identity. Not as rivals, competing internally, while the world advances towards prosperity. We are fortunate that at this pivotal moment, Nigeria is led by a president who understands both the fragility and the strength of our diversity, and who recognizes that national unity must never be sacrificed on the altar of narrow ambition or short-term political gain. Under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, our future will not be negotiated by those who exploit historical fault lines to sow division and resentment. This administration is committed to engaging Nigerians across all divides in a spirit of fairness, inclusion, and shared responsibility, and to strengthening unity through equitable development and responsible governance. Yet, achieving national unity is not the responsibility of government alone. Political actors such as those gathered here occupy a uniquely influential position. Your words shape public discourse. Your conduct models acceptable behavior. Your choices either expand or constrain the space for cooperation. Building unity across ethnic and tribal lines requires deliberate effort, sustained dialogue, cross-regional alliances, and inclusive narratives that affirm the dignity of all groups. Now, this does not, again, I repeat, does not require the erasure of difference. It requires the recognition that diversity can be a source of strength when governed by fairness and mutual respect. Fairness and mutual respect. Let me segue very briefly into what happened, or where we are, why we are where we are today, or with some parties. We are witness today of a political party, a behemoth, a powerful party in this country at one time that seems to have been destroyed now. If you examine and interrogate the destruction, many may want to allude or point to one singular man who was a catalyst for that destruction. But that is not deep thinking. That party was destroyed because some people in that party did not believe in the unity of Nigeria. That party was destroyed because some people did not believe in the doctrine of rotational presidency. The party was destroyed because some people did not believe in the notion of federal character as enshrined in the Constitution. Some people did not believe in equity and fairness. And so it was easy for anyone to speak to those who imbibed equity, fairness, and justice. That's why that party is where it is today. Now, like I said, this does not require the erasure of difference. It requires the recognition that diversity can be a source of strength. Political leaders must consistently communicate that disagreement is not hostility, that diversity is not disloyalty, and that compromise in the national interest is not weakness, but statesmanship. The principles of a rotational presidency between the North and the South stands as one of the clearest expressions of principled compromise in the service of our national interest. It was not born of weakness, but of the wisdom of earlier generations of political leaders who understood that in a diverse nation such as ours, inclusion is the foundation of stability. This arrangement was deliberately designed to manage our differences ease tensions, prevent needless conflict, and keep Nigeria steadily moving forward on the path of unity and progress. Surely, if one party, a massive party, can be brought to its knees because of what people thought was unfair, I shudder to think what could happen to Nigeria when people begin to think that things are unfair, whether you're from the south or from the north. We must avoid that. Those who now seek to upend this understanding in pursuit of narrow, short-term political ambitions must pause and reflect. No personal aspiration, no transient political gain should be allowed to endanger the hard-won balance that sustains our country or to place individual desires above the enduring interests of Nigeria and the collective well-being of its people. The critical challenge facing Nigerian politics is the temptation to mobilize identity as a shortcut to power. Ethnic and tribal affiliations, deeply rooted in history and culture, can easily be transformed into instruments of political exclusion. Yet, while some strategies may yield short-term gains, they inflict long-term damage on national cohesion. When political competition is conducted in ways that amplify ethnic suspicion, tribal rivalry, or religious fear, it corrodes trust and weakens the foundations of the state. If we look at many countries around the world today that are heterogeneous, multi-ethnic, and those of them that practice some form of presidential or rotational presidency, you will see stability. For those that do not, you see instability. Like one of our political leaders says, you can fact check me. Conversely, when leaders emphasize common interests, shared destiny, and mutual respect, they create the conditions for peaceful coexistence and collective progress. The tone and conduct of political leadership, therefore, matter profoundly. And so, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Tinubu presidency has made fairness, openness, and broad participation core principles of how government operates. A historic milestone has been reached. Each of Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones now has its own developmental commission. These commissions are empowered to direct federal investment towards infrastructure and people-centered programs tailored to the distinct realities and obstacles facing different parts of our nation. President Tinubu's government has advanced numerous initiatives built on the foundation of national unity through programs that span the entire country, economic reforms that include all Nigerians, and coordinated security efforts. The administration works to strengthen bonds among citizens regardless of region. This approach reflects the renewed hope agenda's core emphasis on unity, shared responsibility, and progress that benefits everyone. A key element of this unity vision is designing national programs that intentionally reach across geographical, ethnic, and religious boundaries. Take the Renewed Hope Ward Development Program, a community-level initiative designed to reach at least 1,000 people in each of Nigeria's 8,809 wards, ensuring that citizens in every state feel seen and included in federal policy making. President Tinubu regularly connects tax reform, social investments, and economic restructuring to infrastructure and social services that touch every constituency and senatorial southern states, and the ongoing Sokoto-Badagry Highway, connecting Nigerians far north to the southwest, represent more than trade routes. They create pathways for inter-ethnic interaction and mutual appreciation. I see those 2 major roads and highways, and I call them roads of unity. Road expansions and improvements across the country are similarly presented as part of an inclusive development narrative, including the interest-free students' loan for students in tertiary institutions across the country, the discounted cancer treatment in selected public hospitals across the country, and many more. Our administration has also positioned security and civic engagement as foundations for unity, encouraging citizens, media, and institutions to offer constructive feedback while preserving national harmony. Security sector reforms, including movement towards more localized policing and enhanced coordination among security and intelligence bodies across regions, are described as measures to safeguard all Nigerians equally, regardless of ethnic background or state. Ladies and gentlemen, we arrive at a moment that demands reflection and resolve. History teaches us that there are seasons when nations are tested, not by the absence of opportunity, but by the weight of choice. This is such a season for Nigeria. The decisions we make now, the language we choose, the divisions we inflame, or the bridges we build will echo our own time. The price of freedom, they say, is eternal vigilance. In our context, vigilance means guarding our unity with the same seriousness with which we guard our sovereignty. For unity is not an ornament of statehood. It is its backbone. Without it, no constitution endures, no economy prospers, and no flag truly represents the hopes of the people. Let me be clear. The work of national unity is not glamorous. It is often slow, difficult, and deeply uncomfortable. It requires listening when it is easier to shout, compromising when it is tempting to dominate, and trusting when suspicion seems safer. Yet history is unequivocal that great nations are not built by those who exploit fear, but by those who rise above it. This is why leadership matters. Not leadership defined by position alone, but leadership expressed through moral example, restraint, and vision. Yet there is reason for confidence. Nigeria has endured because time and again, its people have found the capacity to pull back. We have found at each turn that capacity to pull back from the brink. We have survived military rule, economic upheaval, and profound social change. We have done so not because we are without differences, but because at critical moments, enough Nigerians chose country over faction and hope over despair. That same choice confronts us today, and it must be made not by government alone, but by all of us, leaders and followers, elders and youth, citizens at home, and Nigerians in the diaspora. Let us therefore leave this summit resolved to speak, act, and lead differently. Let us commit to a politics that seeks to persuade rather than provoke, to unite rather than divide, and to elevate rather than diminish our common humanity. As Marcus Aurelius wrote nearly 2,000 years ago, what we do now echoes in eternity. If that is true, then let our echo be one of unity, courage, and shared prosperity and shared purpose. May history record that when Nigeria stood at a crossroads, we chose the harder path of unity, the longer road of cooperation, and the higher calling of nationhood. May it be said that we understood the moment, rose to meet it, and handed to those who came after us a country more united, more peaceful, and more prosperous than the one we inherited. That is our charge. That is our responsibility. And if we embrace it together, there is no doubt that Nigeria's best days still lie ahead. I thank you. God bless you, and God bless you.
Is the only program that can bring this caliber of people together. That's the truth. Because there is no part of Nigeria that is not here represented. And that tells you the beauty of the legislature. The legislature makes you to make friends, makes you to have a handshake across the Niger that you might never be able to do. And it is not by accident that even when you look at the United States of America, you will see that out of the 47 presidents of America, 17 presidents were former legislators. That's the truth. So all over the world, the legislature is the incubator of effective and efficient leadership. So for me, I want to congratulate each and every one of us for being here. But one point I would need to make is the fact that what lies ahead of us in 2027 is the future of Nigeria. And it's important we get that point very clear. We understand that in 2022, a year before this president came on board, Nigeria spent $20 billion on fuel subsidy. In the same 2022, Nigeria spent over $10 billion on forex subsidy. That is $30 billion in 1 year. At the same time in 2022, Nigeria spent over 92% of its revenue on debt servicing. That was the situation of our country. It's important to understand that this president came on board, took the very difficult decision, took the decision presidents would have been scared to take in their second term. He took it in his first term, not even considering that he had an election ahead of him. He understood the fact that the turning point of every nation is a point when leaders must decide to either live for politics or live for posterity. He understood the fact that it's not about being presidential, it's about being a statesman. He took this decision not just for his generation, but for my generation and generation coming after me. That is the president we have. That is the risk he has taken. And Nigerians, being represented by each and every one of us, here seated, must go in 2027 and repay that and understand there wouldn't be a Singapore without a Lee Kuan Yew. Every nation must have a statesman that defines, that redefines the destiny of that nation. And at this time, that is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Let's go deliver and secure the future of Nigeria. God bless you.